Now we're going to talk about succession planning on a broader scale. When we are dealing with sports, right, we talk about bench strength. And so what's that saying? It's saying, well, I've got the people who are on the field, right, and they're the players out there, but in case somebody gets hurt, injured, or they start to wear out, who's on my bench? Who can I draw from the bench to put into play? And that's the whole concept of succession planning is what's our bench strength? So when you take a look at the organization as a whole, right, you're saying, all right, so here's my org chart, at the different levels. Who's there, who's available? Because at some point, everybody moves, everybody goes away. Whether it's the C-suite up here, whether it's the executives along the way, I've got directors. I have directors here, I have managers here, I have employees here. Well, along the way, I have experts as well, right? Those people, those key people in here that know everything, right? The one person who we haven't cross-trained with. We have key managers who have been here for 20, 30 years. At some point, these people leave. And if we're not prepared, they're going to leave and they're going to take all their knowledge with them. We can say that day will never come, but it does. Or what happens if something bad happens to them? I hate to think about it, but it's going to happen. So the question becomes, how do we take care of this? What's our contingency plan? Not just what's our contingency plan, but how can we do a better job of planning for that? This is where succession plan comes in. How can we help everybody do this? Like when we take a look at the individual, when they come into us, one of the biggest needs of people, and think of it, if you're in the same situation, why are you here getting your degree, right? One of the biggest needs of people is to continuously develop. They want to grow. They want to be something more. Now, not everybody wants to get to the top of the ladder. Not everybody wants to become a senior leader, but everybody wants to grow. It could be from promotion, could be from a job change, should be a growth in opportunity. They want to grow and develop. In fact, most of the time, they're asking us questions during the initial interview about what do you have in store for me during the first interview. And if we don't have an idea for them of what we have in mind for them for their job growth, once they get here, they may not choose to come join us. They'll ask us that question long before salary. So we need to have something in place to let them know, here's what we have in store for you. Wow. So succession planning, is it all about just the org chart flowing up here? It is and it isn't. It's about getting people developed. It's about keeping them here. It's about retention. It's about all of that. It really is about all of that. So where do we start? Well, I mean, there are several ways to go about this, but we're going to take it back to the basics. We're going to start with the concept of competencies. So when I take a look at a person, there's a person, right? And then there's the job, right? We'll just call this the job. Now, when we take a look at the job, and that's the task, right? This is the tasks that we want them to do. But really, when we take a look at what are competencies, competencies are, what do we need this person here to know, be, and do? That's it. They are bodies of knowledge, bodies of skills, right? Qualities within that person that help to define what do we need them to know, be, and do. Now, isn't that contained in the job description? No, not really. The job description is a list of tasks, list of qualifications, list of requirements. And there's some overlap. There is a lot of overlap about what are competencies versus requirements in the job description. Yeah, there's overlap, but it's not the same thing. If I can understand what I am looking for, if I understand what I need for somebody, what I need them to know, be, and do, then I can know this is what I need within this job. If I know that, then I know what I'm looking for. All right. So these competencies, right? These are things we've talked about before, right? Core competencies are those competencies that anybody that works for this organization really needs to have. So we typically have about 3 to 5, 3 to 5 of these core competencies, and these can also translate into your values. What does somebody need to have, be, like? What are the qualities to be successful here? And you've got to define this. What are those attributes that they need to have? You're going to have some technical some technical competencies, you may have 6 to 8 of these. It's just like, this is what they need to be able to do. And this is to the level or the degree of expertise that I need them to be able to do it in within this position. This gets into the job requirements of what you need them to know, be, and do to do this job specifically. Now, if you have a leadership position, you may have some additional competencies, 3 to 5 additional competencies of what you need from a leader. All right, so if this is what you're looking for, if this is what you need in this position, then what happens is that anybody should be able to take a look at this job and say, I know what we need for this position. Cool. Well, if that's the case, that's our building block. That's our start. Identify the competencies. What are you looking for? Why is this important? That's step 1. All right. Step number 2 is to assess your bench. Who do you have? What do you have? What do I have to work with out there? All right, so this is where you take a look. As you're looking at your crew out there, you look at the group, whether this is done within your team, within your department, or within the organization, there are several ways that you can do, there's several ways to go about succession planning. One of the most common ways to do it, maybe the simplest way to do it, is what we call the 9 box. Again, if you do it this way or a different way, it's up to you. But the 9 box is one of the ways that we oftentimes take a look and say, who's the biggest potential here? So here's what the 9 box is. We take a grid, and let's take this as, we'll go potential. It's potential, and this is performance. So if I take a look at a job, single position, or we'll say maybe it's the position that I'm trying to succeed into, right? So let's take I'm looking at a director job, this manager job, and say, all right, who's going to be qualified for this type of position here? I can go through and I can evaluate people based upon their potential for the position and their current performance level and say, all right, based on their potential and their performance, how are they doing? Who should I pay attention to? All right. So this is called the 9 box because we kind of grid this thing out. We have 9 boxes. So here are the basic ones. If I've got somebody who is over in this box, somebody with high potential, low performance. This could happen in one of 2 ways. Number 1, if I've got somebody who's fairly new to their career, just started out, they're not going to perform very well because they have an acclimation period. That could happen. If that's the case, they need some more training, mentoring, get them going. Don't write them off. Now, if I have somebody who's been around for a long time, they have a lot of potential, but they're just lazy, that could also be that person. I may have somebody over here, high performance, low potential. These are the doers. This may be somebody who's been there for a long, long time, who just does one thing, but just does it well. They perform exceptionally well, but they're not going to be promoted. That happens. And those people are happy where they're at, and that's great. You need those folks, and that's just fine. On the other hand, if they're high performance but low potential, but they're in a position that you don't really need anymore, that's concerning too. Now you have these folks who are here in the middle, about half and half potential, half performance. They're right in the middle. It's all right. You know what? They're okay. That's the middle of the hump, right? That's the middle of the curve. That's all right. Now this group up here, high potential, high performance, this is your sweet spot. This is going to represent probably about 5% of your people. This crew, whatever it takes to nurture them, love them, keep them, that's what you do. Because this group right here is your business. That's the future of your business, or probably growing your business, or coming up with your innovation, your ideas. They're taking care of your business. Whatever they want, you give them. That's that. This group up here is going above and beyond. You want to pay attention to them. All right. When it comes to your succession planning, you're going to take a look at this and say, all right, who's where in these categories? Now, one of the common practices that we'll do is we'll kind of go like this, and we'll say, like, anybody above this line, that's our first pick. Anybody above this line is our first pick. The closer you get to this corner up here, right? This section right here, this is our really, really first pick. Anybody in this quadrant up here, we're gonna pay our attention to there. But you can't focus on everybody at the same time. But you know what? Where do we put our resources, our efforts, our training, our development, our focus? This is going to be focus number 1. This is going to be focus number 2. And everybody else can have the rest. So am I saying that you disproportionately distribute the resources? I am. When it comes to development, when it comes to prepping your succession plan, I absolutely am. Why? Because this is the group up here for your succession plan where you know that if you're going to invest in them, you're going to have a strong return on investment. As you send them off to training, you mentor them, you guide them, you coach them, this group up here will pay attention to you. What you should also be aware of is that this group up here, if you don't provide them with training and development and opportunity, they will leave. They will leave, and they will leave sooner rather than later. But if you take care of them, you guide them, you develop them, and you reward them, they will stay and they will be your most loyal people. This group right here, this upper middle group, if you have them on a plan and you spell it out for them, and this I'll call the steady group. Don't look for any quick moves. Don't look for rapid ascension. Don't look for a big jump from here to here all of a sudden. It's been known to happen, but it could happen. But this is going to be a steady, gradual move up. This group, typically, if it's based on typical performance. People in this area, you want a plan that's going to be continuously forward. This upper group, they can make large jumps very quickly. This group right here for succession planning, they're going to need time to develop, but they will continuously move forward. Now, this group, it's right on the edge right here. This group is worth coaching. It's worth the effort to say, how you doing? What are your plans? What do you want to do? And it's worth throwing it out to them to say, hey, do you want to be part of the team? Do you want to play or not? And if you can take a few of these to throw into the upper groups, that's awesome. However, when I talk about disproportionate investment, we're talking, for this upper part, we're talking like 70 to 80% of your resources should be going to this group. If you're talking about developing for your succession, because this group down here won't care. They won't get you a return on your investment, and they won't get you where you need to go. That's the 9 box. Okay. All right. I know. This is also why I'm doing it on the whiteboard instead of my PowerPoint, just so I can scribble and scratch on the wall. So what happens? Back to here. As you're considering what you need for each level, if I know what I need up here from a competency standpoint, this individual can see what they need to develop, and the person up here can see what they need to develop. Coach them, guide them, build it into the development plan, and help them move forward. This can go at all levels throughout the entire organization. Build it into development plans, build it into coaching, build it into training that you offer, build it into programs so that you can help them to help themselves as individuals. You can help them from a top level perspective, and you can provide opportunities throughout the entire organization for everybody to have access, equal access to excel and succeed and grow and make your organization thrive. those are some general thoughts. Is it everything you need to know about succession? No, but those are a couple of tools that should help you out as you start your journey forward. So, thanks.